Welcome to Mind Duck Podcast episode
23!
22.
22
22.
22
Thank you so much for taking time to record an episode after half year, after we have all moved to a different place.
Yeah.
So, on this podcast we usually talk about Japanese things, and on this episode Japanese comedy, because Taka has become a Japanese comedy star. And since we last met, we have experienced a lot of things, including Taka's YouTube video becoming viral, because after 2 weeks you got more than 1,000 hits, 1,100 hits on your...
Oh, the Hadouken one.
So everybody loves how you can say sound effects from Street Fighter, which you should do like a mod and
Sound is very big now.
Yeah.
It's just 2 weeks.
So surprised.
So everybody loves you. And recently we went to a performance of Taka's. So on this episode we'd like to talk about Japanese comedy and your performance and also the news. Like I said, since we last met, we all moved to a new place. So how do you like your new apartment, by the way?
New apartment? Okay. This is very convenient place, you know, quiet and big enough for me.
Okay.
On the other hand, always there is some, negative side. That is my neighbor.
Okay.
Oh, do tell.
Oh, yeah. Before moving into this apartment, the estimate company say that there are only females living in the apartment. There are 6 rooms in this building and all females. And I have a girlfriend. Oh yeah. I would meet some future girlfriend then. That was my expectation. And now after 6 months, the neighbor is very, how can I describe it? It's crazy, just one phrase, you know?
Do they speak English? Can they hear us?
What?
Do they speak English?
Of course they don't.
Okay, it's okay. Carry on, please.
Okay.
Just making sure.
So my apartment built by wood.
Yeah.
So the wood
Yeah, it doesn't...
resonance.
There's no insulation.
Yeah, there's no insulation, so I can hear something.
Everything.
If you breathe, well, it's a noise. I didn't know before moving in.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
In the female, action. Oh, sounds weird.
Okay.
And I can hear when they open the windows. Right? And in the midnight, I was watching a movie or I was reading a book in the silence, and I hear something weird. Like, sound.
They can definitely hear that.
Yeah.
There was a story I heard.
Do I need to tell about this story?
There was a story that I heard somebody say that they lived in Korea, and when they moved in there, they sang in the shower. And they didn't know that you could hear everything. And after weeks of singing every weekend, the neighbors started singing the same song in the shower. And after that, they sang, after like months, they sang together, like spontaneously. And then finally, after like 5 months, they knocked on each other's door and they became best friends.
Oh, that's a good story.
So you should do something similar with this song.
Oh. So I need to make my neighbor masturbating.
to put it.
So, following your story, do I need to masturbate as
Yes.
well and
At the
make
same
loud sound?
Yes.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yes.
But try to match the resonance. Like, if she's more
Like having a sex.
Yeah, but like also singing. Like, if she's on one note, you gotta be on the same note.
Like for in a
Same
rhythm.
tempo.
Yeah.
Synchronize it to the same time. Is there a schedule? Is it every day?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But I thought you said in the mornings.
Yes, that's true.
Or you can like Beethoven synchronize it, like the like the like just
Yeah, in the morning, like 7 in the morning.
I mean, it's the best way to start the day.
I'll be happy if I hear the song, like, like Beatles or something, right?
But I think if you play some loud music at the same exact moment, it's a nice way to tell them you can hear it. I think.
that's true.
So if you do it every time, same song. Maybe play like you're the sex bomb or something like that. Every time they say. When they...
But sadly, I just remind me that while she is masturbating, she has imaginary guy.
Oh no. You didn't tell us that before.
Yeah. So the guy is not a guy. Like, he is, I don't know who that is, but younger than her.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you know? I'm worried to...
Yeah, how do you know these details?
Because she said, please don't, I'm your aunt, or something like that.
Oh, she is like some intense like, sexual fantasy by herself. Wow.
Are you sure nobody's there? Isn't there like a secret entrance to her place?
I don't know. That would be better.
Let's just hope she opens the window and he gets in somehow.
Oh, okay.
Secretly.
Sounds like she's starring in her own hentai.
So that's my neighbor's story.
Yeah. I'm glad you're having so much fun in your place.
Quite a wake-up call.
Okay.
On the other side, how do you like our
I
apartment?
love it. We moved to...
Yeah, you guys definitely have a good neighborhood.
It's very quiet, very peaceful.
But
Bad. Always bad. I love the
in
bad.
the mornings,
Oh, yeah.
Philip gets quite startled because we often hear "Wah! Wah! Wah! Wah!"
We live on the 4th floor, which is the top floor, next to the staircase, and the stupid crows sit on the top of the stupid staircase and shit all over the place.
and they call as they're shitting. They're "Wah! Wah!"
I have to say this in Czech because we have this lovely expression in Czech. If you say something is really bad, you say literally that it's like shit all over. And that's a very Czech pun. Zasraný vrány sedí na tom zasraném schodišti a serou na to zasrané schodiště. I said, this shitty crows shit all over this shitty staircase. And they wake me up every single morning. I hate it. So I have to wear earplugs just to prevent the crows from waking me up. But it's okay. It's fine.
But then also in the rainy season, then all the cicadas come on. So,
As you have the high school graph.
right. Oh yeah, the announcers in the morning also, you can't understand what they're saying. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then the garbage truck sounds like an ice cream truck. It's like, nee, nee, nee.
Yeah. Always.
So many sound effects. But to smoothly transition on a Segway, the cicadas.
Language quirk.
Yes, like I was
Thank you.
saying, speaking of cicadas, I have a Japanese cicada joke. On the next part, we talk about.
Okay.
On the next part, we talk about Japanese language strange quirks. And recently, I learned a joke which I'm very, very curious if you know. What's semi-final? or semi-finalu, or semi-finalu.
Semi-final.
Semi-final. So do you know this joke?
Joke?
Or
No.
this word, or this expression?
Semi-final is in English, right?
And Japanese.
Yeah, but also Japanese.
It's like a multi-layered, multi-level joke that I found fascinating. So I don't know if you know. Do you
You
know?
tell us the
I
joke.
don't.
So when you see a cicada,
Yeah.
which in Japanese is semi. So semi means cicada. And for some reason, Japanese people decided that when you want to say that you almost died, you say semi-final.
Because the...
So, and the cicada is about to die, it flips on its back and it's almost dead, so you call it semi-final. So it's semi and it's almost dead, so it's final. So it's like a nearly dead, but more than that, it also means you're scared to death. So if you have a near-death experience where you are scared so hard, you can say you can say it in Japanese semi-final.
Really?
Somebody told me. I don't know if it's true.
I've never heard it.
A student told me. So if you see the cicada dying and being on its back and you come near it, very often it flips up and flies at you, which makes you scared to death.
Yeah.
So that's semi-final. Or semi-finalu.
I've experienced that.
Which is like a
Semi-final.
super like 3-level pun. So it's cicada is semi-finalu, it's half that and you're half that.
That's funny.
So it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Semi-final.
Do you say that in Japanese? No. Okay.
Semi-final, we say that like a boxing.
Yeah,
of course,
same.
of course.
Yeah, it's like...
So how would you say you are really scared to death in Japanese?
yeah, how do you say this?
死ぬかと思った.
死ぬかと思った. Like, と思いま
I
した.
thought I'd be die facing that situation.
Okay. 死ぬ?
死ぬ.
Yeah, so 死ぬ is dead.
かと思った.
かと?
Would be.
Would be? Okay. And 思った is like I thought.
思った.
思った. So that's much more useful expression than semi-final.
死ぬかと思った.
News and stories.
So the main reason why we are recording this is to talk about Japanese comedy and discuss Rakugo and Manzai. I would say Manzai is the most popular like comedy genre in Japan, right?
Yeah.
So how would you describe Manzai? What is it?
Manzai is commonly two guys standing in front of the mic. And there are two characters. One is making the jokes. Then the other is corrected.
Yeah.
Okay.
I looked up that one is called Tsukomi.
Tsukumi, yeah.
So that's like the person who's serious.
Yes.
Straight man.
Yeah.
So he says something logical, reasonable, or interesting. And the second person is called
Okay.
just like the funny idiot. So usually they talk together, and the bokeh, the funny man, gets slapped a lot.
Yes.
How do you slap him?
Like
I mean,
But in the face? Like...
on his head.
Oh.
you do it with your hands?
Yeah.
I thought it's like a fan or something.
No.
On Wikipedia they said you usually use a fan.
Like,
No.
just like...
Yep.
That's what you
funny.
have.
That's funny.
So I was trying to look up what Manzai actually means, and I looked up that it started as...
Don't know.
So Wikipedia said that thousands years ago, which I don't know how that makes sense 1,000 years ago, but not a long time ago. Oh, sorry, no. Banzai means thousands...
Banzai is like applause and
Like when you're cheering,
welcoming,
like,
cheering,
Banzai!
So I was reading the history, and I found that originally it started as a New Year's tradition.
Yeah, several years ago.
Yeah, so when two performers
Yeah.
two performers would get a message from the gods somehow, and they would get a message about the state of the world, and they would talk about the news of the world, like from the gods, and they would try to make it like factual, and the other person would play, in English we say the devil's advocate, so he would challenge him about the view, and the person would slap him around to say that it's true. And it was based in Osaka traditionally, and it was the place where people used it the most until 1933, where Mr. Yoshimoto Kogyo.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah. Their agent company which hires comedians.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
They give us a job, like having medical contracting with the TV program and then provide the job to the comedian.
Some kind of agency?
Yeah.
They said it's a large entertainment conglomerate based in Osaka. And in 1993, they tried to introduce Manzai to Tokyo audiences. That's when they coined the term this kanji. Have you seen this kanji?
Manzai.
That's Manzai, but they said new kanji. It's the same.
Yeah, probably.
Because they said there's several ways to say it, but it's okay. And it was, they were struggling first, but then they became really popular in Tokyo, and that's how it spread in Japan. And in 2015, there was a novel written about this transition, and it's called Hibana Spark.
What?
It's like this name.
Oh!
Do you know?
The literature. Yeah, Hibana.
Do you know something about it?
I haven't read it, but it got award, yeah. Akutagawa show.
It was also adapted on Netflix as a live-action short miniseries with 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's about two guys who are from Osaka, who moved to Tokyo, and they're trying to start their career as Manzai comedians in Tokyo. And it's supposed to be really good, and it won bajillion awards, and it's like a show that's recommended. So if you're interested in this scene, you should definitely find it. It's called Hibana Spark. That's H-I-B-A.
Watch it.
Yeah. So that's Manzai.
Yeah.
Have you done Manzai?
No.
Do you want to do it? Of course.
Maybe. I will do it.
I think that's like the next step.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
Very difficult though.
I'd love to do it. I always loved stand-up comedy, but obviously I can't speak Japanese very much. But I could be the idiot. So,
Yeah.
so if you want to slap me, I'm very much willing to do so. So before Manzai, there was Rakugo, which is the original style of Japanese comedy. And it's more like storytelling.
Yes.
And I was trying to read up about this, and how this started was supposedly within Buddhist monasteries, where the priests would have sermons. And throughout the years, it would get boring. So they,
yeah, probably. Yeah.
so they invented characters, and they pretended to have different characters to tell the story. And it became more popular, so they invented their own stories, and then they made it more funny, and then how they started with Rakugo.
Yeah, that seems right.
So in Rakugo, it's just one person that sits on a platform and has very limited amount of things to do.
Yes.
There are some props, right?
This one.
Exactly.
And here.
Okay,
Yeah.
a fan and a towel.
I saw that during the performance. Everybody had those, and I was like, why do they all have the same things?
But this becomes everything. It's like purse, wallet, and diary,
That's the towel
Oh, that's
Taka is
good.
showing.
and I can write with like this.
Oh, okay.
It's very interesting because it's just two things. It's very strange.
And this becomes chopsticks as
Oh,
well.
cool. Yeah.
Like,
Which you didn't see is Taka doing amazing performance with using these two objects as anything you want.
and this sounds.
So this is a strict rule to have just two things, nothing else?
Nothing else.
Okay, that's very interesting, very limiting. So only two objects and you cannot move, just sit down.
Yes.
And you sit down with this specific style. It's called Seiza, I think.
Seiza, yes.
What is Seiza?
Seiza, how can I describe it? Sit on your leg,
Yeah, knees.
knees.
We just say knees, which makes no sense. Sit on your
Sit
knees.
on your knees.
And it's the same style like if you have a tea ceremony or like a traditional, like proper formal Japanese sitting style. How do you like that?
I don't feel anything.
But it's so long that you're sitting there and you're
I was surprised
your
you could
legs
stand
go to
up.
sleep.
Because if I sit like that for 10 minutes, I can't stand up. And your performance was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you stood up very easily. So
Yeah.
how do you do that?
No, I was enjoying it, but I don't feel anything. But like my master sit like about 30 minutes, like double or triple.
That's insane. I can do like 5 minutes to be comfortable. Then my legs fall asleep, and then I get this like twitchy feeling.
But when I get numb, I was like octopus. I don't know which side of my feet was facing. I was trying to walk, but my legs were.
Here's your answer.
You can figure out. But you know what I mean. You're walking.
That's ridiculous. So you couldn't stand up, but you did anyway. That's a very Japanese approach. You just go forward, anything goes. Nothing will stop you.
But your hand is fine, so you just walk with a hand.
But how do you not fall over? Just sit there until your legs are completely done, and you can't stand up. You become an octopus from waist down. And the way you tell the story is you look in different directions.
Yes.
And you change your voice. And you pretend you're different characters. So is there a narrator also? Is there like a narrator who tells the story and characters?
Yeah, narrator would be me.
Oh, yeah. And then extra characters.
Yeah.
How many characters would you usually have in a show?
It depends on the stories. Sometimes like 5 or 6.
So is practicing their voices a big part of the performance?
It is not necessary to imitate or like becoming another person, but it's much easier to explain that person is not the same person. Better to perform differently,
of course,
and also as Japanese traditional story need to respect older person as well.
How do you respect an older person who's a character?
So there are 2 directions.
Oh, like that. Okay, I see.
And the one direction is much superior, and other like.
Oh yeah. So if you look this way, it's like the respectful direction character. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I thought it's just 2 like.
Which called Kamiza and Shimoza.
Oh, okay.
If you face this way, this person is much
more respected.
So this direction.
So the respect is on the right, and the other direction on the left is not so respected. That's interesting.
So if I talk to a kid, hey, come here. Hey, I'm here.
So one more thing is that ochi means punchline.
Yeah.
Which ochi also means fall. So the literal meaning of Rakugo means fallen words. So it's like falling on you, and it's false is the punchline. Which is quite clever.
In Japanese, say sage.
Sage.
Ochi.
So sage is...
Ochi. The same, the punchline.
Oh, okay. So like the punchline falls. Okay. That's nice. I like this explanation. So you've been practicing to do this performance for a long time, and this was your
3 months.
Yeah. But I mean, this was the 3rd time you've done it.
Yeah.
So how do you feel it has changed? Do you feel more confident?
Yes, I get used to, having a performance in front of the audience. So I add some other story, other explanation or other, acting according to the reaction of the audience. If they are bored, I need to put some other,
But that's while you practice. That's not during the performance, right?
During the performance.
During the performance. Yes. So you have to improvise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that was a part of it. I thought you just memorized it.
No.
So you know some few parts or skits.
Yeah, so I have some extra stories I have prepared. But according to the reaction of the audience, I just add or improvise.
Oh, that's cool. So have you reused any, or do you challenge yourself to always have new stories every time you...
And something comes into my mind during the performance, so I just put it.
Okay. I'm very surprised you said that you react to the audience and change up the stories, because Japanese audience is the toughest audience you could ever have on any show.
Yeah.
I always talk about this with my friend. We like to watch fights, and there's this UFC championship, and they always travel around the world. And every time they travel to any place, everybody's screaming, shaking the fence, everybody's throwing stuff. And then in Japan, somebody almost dies, and the Japanese people are like... It's dead quiet. Nobody says anything. It's like insane. And the same was at your performance. Somebody laughed like once.
Yeah. Yeah, very tough.
How does that feel? It has to be terrible. But I think they liked it.
No, the story that I had, this performance was not that funny
But I think
story
it was
always. But the end of the story is funny, so I need to take their, guide to the end is very funny. So then I need to tell them exactly what the situation is.
So can you tell if the audience likes it when they are not reacting? It's so difficult.
I don't know.
Well, I think it's hard now though too, because people have masks.
Yeah,
otherwise, you could see them like smiling, but now it's just like if you cover my mouth, maybe like them smiling, but then. Like you can tell.
But I can see the face of the audience.
Okay.
Just restricted.
Okay.
Of the rakugo. You can't see the eye of the audience.
Yeah, so you can tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are missing hand gestures and motions, Taka's.
Yeah. Which brings me to the fact that we recorded your performance on video, and we're going to release this hopefully with English subtitles.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who has never seen Rakugo, you get a great chance. We're working on the translation, which before I finish editing this podcast, it's probably going to be done because it takes me forever. So one more thing I want to ask, just to finish up, was what about the rules as far as the story, like the topics, are they limited? Or can you talk about anything?
Anything.
Are you sure?
But there are so many stories, over 1,000 stories from 200 or 300 years ago being told. But as the society is changing right now, some story is not applicable.
So
So
did you make up this story, or you adjusted?
I followed the standard.
Oh, okay.
But I change sometimes. The previous story that I told was about the marriage. But the part of the story saying that the female has to do the house, become a housewife, then doing cleaning, and then the wife need to wake up before the husband wake up and then put up the makeup. It's not that common recent society, so I just skipped it.
Okay.
But man, do you get to make up your own story, or you have to pick from an old one and just change?
I followed the old one and just put some recent topic.
Okay.
I was thinking about along those lines, because Japan is very strict and people love rules. And it's always rules, like the 2 objects, the 2 props. So I was surprised you said you can do anything. So if you talk about sex or something very controversial, is it allowed? Can you talk about that?
But there is a story that having a cheating,
having a affair or having a lover. This. Because in stand-up comedy in the West, it's a big thing to swear and use horrible language and use things that are very graphic to make the audience uncomfortable sometimes and have something very, very disgusting to describe.
The Rakugo doesn't use it.
I thought so, yeah. So if you were to do that, how would you say the audience would react? Do you think they would just leave?
Would they storm out of the theater? Would they throw down their handkerchiefs and be like,
but
enough?
Rakugo is very difficult to understand, because it is funny because people can imagine the situations. But if some people don't give up, follow up the stories, go to sleep. It is true.
Have you ever heard of or seen somebody heckle? Heckling means the audience hates it. They're like, boo!
No.
This is also common in the West.
Yeah. Get off the stage.
So that's not acceptable during Rakugo.
It's acceptable.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But a few people.
Okay. One more thing I want to ask you was, at the beginning, the organizer introduced you and he talked about what the audience should do. And he talked about
that's the layer.
But what I understood from him was, please don't be bored and laugh a lot, but don't laugh too much.
Yeah,
you're not supposed to.
Sounds like.
Really?
That's what I understood. So I understood he was like, don't laugh so loud because it's impolite to laugh so much, but don't be so quiet. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Casually laugh.
But what does that mean?
It's like saying.
So is that a rule? Like,
No. What he said was laugh.
okay.
It's very healthy.
Okay.
But the real laugh, of course, is healthy. But also, fake laugh is the same.
It's also healthy. Okay.
Oh.
Because I wasn't sure if his introduction was a joke or if it was serious. I guess it was serious. Because I think he kept explaining that it was okay to laugh, but not too loud and not too quiet. Just laugh the right way. I was like, what? And the girls who were sitting in the front row, they loved it. They laughed a lot, but they laughed like...
Was it the one lady who was so loud they kept laughing at everything?
That was interesting. Yeah, so thanks for telling us about the performance. I'm very honored that we could watch it finally. We could make time.
Yeah.
Is there anything that surprised you while studying for it, or anything else you'd like to say about this experience?
Well, Rakugo? But, okay. There are foreigners Rakugoka called Katsura Sunshine.
So that's a person.
Yeah.
So his nickname or a real name?
Nickname.
Okay.
Canadian or American.
Okay.
Very good at it.
Okay.
And she also having the Rakugo in English.
Cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think it's somewhere on YouTube or on
Yeah,
TV?
yeah.
Okay. Let's listen to a clip.
So I got two clips for you. The first one is more similar to the Western style of stand-up comedy. The second clip is a bit longer and it's a short story where he actually plays different characters and it's much more similar to the traditional style of Rakugo.
When we perform Rakugo, we use only two props. In Japanese, we call this sensu. In English, we call this a fan. In Japanese, we call this a tennugui. In English, we call this a hand towel. When we perform Rakugo, we wear special clothing. In Japanese, we call this a kimono. In English, we call this a kimono. When we perform Rakugo, we sit in this special way. In Japanese, we call this seiza. In English, we call this punishment. When you see this homework, you're going to be more tired. I'm excellent at mathematics. Your father's whole work day is numbers, 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 money, money, money. That's my job. Just read me the problem. I'm going to read. On a warm summer's evening, turtles and flamingos have come together around a lake. If you count their heads, there are 16 heads altogether. If you count their feet, there are 44 feet altogether. How many turtles and how many flamingos have gathered around the lake? Oh. Okay, no problem. Continue. Yeah, that's all. Well, just look at this. If you read it, you know it's crazy. I mean, on a warm summer's evening, flamingos and turtles have come together around a pond. That's crazy.
Thanks a lot. I'm glad that we could experience this. Please have a look on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find Taka's performance definitely in Japanese, hopefully in English, also with English subtitles.
It's the brand name of the week. Get ready, it will be weird.
We strive to provide utter customer dissatisfaction. We will do anything to displease you. You don't want to work with us. You don't need our product. You don't trust us.
Counter attraction. Reverse psychology is our motto.
So if you first time listener to this episode, what we do is we find a strange sounding business. It's like a brand name of the week thing. And this time I found a bicycle shop that's literally called Counter Attraction. Check the not lesson notes, damn it. Check the podcast notes for the photo if you don't believe. So why would you name your bicycle shop Counter Attraction is beyond me.
I don't even know what counter has to do with the bicycle shop at all.
I don't know.
Like,
You'll never know.
attraction is irrelevant. It could be any meaning, but what the hell is counter for bicycles?
One day I'll learn Japanese well enough, so I'm gonna be able to go into these shops and ask them, and they're gonna explain it to me. Like today, we walked past a cram school, which is like an evening study school. It was called Breast, but it's B-R-E-S-T. And so we went past with Taka. I was like, "Look, breasts." But then you explained it, so I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it comes from brainstorming. It becomes brainstorming, breast.
And if you didn't catch that, in Japan, they like to make words shorter and shorter. Like sometimes they use the English version of a word, but then it's too long or complicated, so they cut it. So like a patrol car is called pato car. They don't say the patrol. I can't even say it. Patrol part. They just say pato. So like Taka was saying, maybe brain changed to bread, and then storm is changed to stop. So breasto. Breast.
Definitely a crime school where you want to study.
Japanese characters.
So on this part you choose a mascot or like a video character or like a famous strange character in Japan, and recently we found something amazing, and it's from Taka's hometown. Taka is from Hokkaido, and if you go to Hokkaido you can buy these souvenirs which are moss balls.
Moss ball. Yeah.
So what's his name?
Marimokkori.
Marimokkori.
Yeah. But what does mokkori mean? I know what it means, but can you tell the audience what is mokkori?
Mokkori mean.
Yeah. I heard that it was the sound of like.
Yeah. So when guys part.
They're parts.
They're
Parts. Okay.
Parts.
Yeah, they're parts. Get hardened, elected. There is a part becomes like how can you describe?
Like a hump.
Hump. Yeah.
Gesturing a mountain with his hands.
Yeah. Small mountain under your belly.
Like a bulge or extrusion or
Bones, but under your clothes.
Yeah.
in your crotch.
That is we described as mokkori.
Okay. So Marino, I think.
Marimokkori is like moss ball.
So the moss ball is called Mari or Marino.
Marimo.
Yeah, that's it. Marimo. So Marimo is the moss ball.
Yes.
Which is like a strange looking ball of green, like fur looking moss that you can buy in a jar and keep it as a pet.
Yeah.
That's so strange. So it's like a famous Hokkaido souvenir.
Yeah.
And then they make a mascot which is called
Marimokkori.
Yeah, but guys, this mascot, guys.
The eye of the guy is so
It's mischievous. He's mischievous. You know why he's happy? So it's this big. His head is a big giant moss ball, and then he's got sort of a normal body, but his eyes are all turned up like upside down smiley faces because he's real sneaky. Because he's got mokkori down in his pants. Children touch this mokkori. I've seen pictures of the mascot and children come up and they squeeze his mokkori. If that's not inappropriate, I don't know what
It's
is.
the most perverted thing I've ever seen as far as mascots go. I don't understand it. So in his groin, you have another moss ball, which is under his pants, and it's like bulging out from his pants. It's like a green ball, and he's like, look at my
And sometimes he's standing over top of a female Marimokkori, but her mokkori are her boobs.
And there are children just coming up to his mascot, taking pictures with him, and they want to squeeze his bulge.
Yeah, and the pictures I was saying about the mascot and then the female mascot, they have like the cutout faces, so children can come up and be the faces of them doing inappropriate things to each other.
It's awful.
Why, Taka? Why?
Have you seen this in person in Hokkaido?
Marimokkori?
Yeah.
No, I
Oh,
never.
thank God. Can you imagine being the person wearing the costume?
Oh Lord!
And people like children running up to you all day and just grabbing your crotch
Oh
and
Lord!
squeezing it. Can you imagine the job?
I imagine they have to have a female do the job to make it appropriate in any form or fashion. It's gonna be a girl in the costume.
Yeah, I've had some students tell me that they had part-time jobs as mascots and they have very troubled experiences. They always feel like they'll pass out and it's like sweat doing that.
Yeah, it's hot inside
It's
of those.
tough.
But it's in Hokkaido. I feel like it's not so bad
Maybe,
being a mascot in
maybe.
Hokkaido. You might be kind of comfortable.
Yeah, so thank you for telling us about your hometown's mascot.
This face.
Yeah. He's so comfortable. And satisfied.
Please cut that to be the very end of like he's so comfortable. That's the best.
Okay.
The thought of the day.
Each podcast has to be a thought of the day because I have too many things to think about. And we talked about comedy. So I have a very simple, that's hopefully going to be understandable question this time. Because if you don't know this podcast, usually this part is absolutely impossible to understand.
It's because Philip goes off the rails with his explanation.
This is for me. So the question is very simple. Speaking of comedy, I love American or Western style stand-up comedy. And all these people that do stand-up comedy are very flawed, very strange, very perverted often. Have you ever watched English stand-up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know any comedians or do you like it?
It's hard to understand. It's very first and using.
It's very
Strong.
heavy on slang and swearing.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the references...
But Ricky Gervais, I like it.
Yeah, really. That's quite difficult actually to understand,
Yeah.
I would say. Did you laugh when you watched Ricky Gervais?
Some part.
Okay.
But I like when he gives the statement at the academy.
Oh, yeah, that's very harsh.
The best.
If you don't know, he basically told everybody to fuck off. Would that fly in Japan? Would this be possible in Japan? If somebody did this in Japan,
No.
what would happen?
I don't know. Can't imagine that.
Would somebody shoot him?
Definitely.
So my question is, because all these people have such strange personalities and histories, all of them seem to be very troubled and almost depressed. And some of the comedians who are English stand-up comedians even say it. They're like horribly depressed. And the funny stories they get from their own life, which is miserable. So, do you have to be depressed to be funny? Is the question.
I don't think.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
And also for you, are your like friends or people who studied Rakugo or yourself, do you feel sad and that's how you make it funny?
No.
No? That's not.
Totally not.
Well, but if you're in a Rakugo, you're not talking about your own experience, though.
Very good.
Well, you can, but
You know.
some people don't.
Yeah, that's
like-
actually a thing I forgot to ask. Is it always made up or is it sometimes real, the stories you tell?
Like your own experience in Rakugo.
No experience sometimes.
Yeah, it's good. I think it could happen.
Okay.
I think it's inevitable. If you do comedy, inevitably you're gonna put your life in it.
Okay.
People laugh
Yeah.
because people have sympathy
Can they
about
relate?
the stories.
Yeah, but I mean your personal story, not relatable stories, but like when you do
Yeah, sometimes
Rakugo. Oh, okay.
So, did you ever feel like it helped you cope with something bad that happened to you?
With something bad.
Like you had a bad experience, and because you made it into a joke, it helped you go over it.
So like a previous story was the meeting up the female.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But before the story, like during the storytelling, I put the story about Tinder.
Mm-hmm.
I used to right, swipe, but no matches.
Yes.
Oh, what the hell was that?
I guess that's universal. Tinder is the most common topic at stand-up comedy ever. Everybody talks about it at one point. It's ridiculous.
But was it a sad experience for you? That's the point. Like, did it make you sad, and then that's why you made it something comedic?
Sad story?
Like usually these comedians, like at least Western comedians, they always have some kind of bad or negative experience, and they make that into the joke. That is the joke.
I try to use it, but I try to make it, but it's hard to put it into like experience in the Africa, like a Mozambique.
That's actually what I meant to also ask you and tell you. Like, would you ever do that? Would you try
I want to try to, but it's very difficult to mix with all the Japanese stories.
It sounds like a lot of good material for your next stand-up performance from all your experience, because you've lived so long in Mozambique and you have all these like, I'm sure sometimes troubling experiences all over the world, and that's like prime time material for a stand-up comedy show.
Maybe I make some story in this year, like experience Vietnam, Thailand.
Yeah, that would be great. Western stand-up is almost always based on this. Somebody is just traveling all over the place and experiences just weird stuff, and then he makes it into a joke.
Yeah, I try to do that.
Yeah, I think I can answer your question, because maybe, no, you don't have to be depressed to make comedy, but it depends on the topic of what it is that you're making fun of. For instance, sometimes people are on the topic of, like, for example, a racist experience. Of course, that was a negative experience, and they made it into something funny. So it was something bad made into something good. Or they talk about an experience, maybe an abusive parent. So then, yes, they did take a bad experience and made it good. So depending on the topic, I think you do have to have a bad or depressing experience, and then you have a joke. But other things, like, for instance, we listened to a comedian, and they were talking about like some swim meet or something that they were at, and it was like a little bit embarrassing. Like, she didn't shave down there, and some stuff was like showing, but it wasn't like this terrible, awful like experience. Just something a little bit embarrassing, but it was still really funny. So depending on the topic, I think you must be a very depressed person, because you must have experienced a lot of bad things to have so many jokes about it. Yeah. But it's topic dependent. So if you see comedians that constantly talk about like drugs or racist behavior or something like that, and they're hilarious, they've had a ton of bad experiences with this thing. So you
do the best when you talk about stuff you know well.
So it just depends on the topic. So I don't think you have to be depressed, but
So thanks so much for recording another episode.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Well,
It's very pleasure.
Yeah.
Coming back this podcast.
People love you. Somebody told me that when it's you and Chan, it's a good episode guaranteed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's hope it's not the last time. Let's hope that next time you come back from Vietnam, which is your next business trip. And you have some funny stories to tell. Yeah. And I have to say, you're like great. You're more confident, and your Rakugo performance was great too.
Thank you.
So see you on the next episode.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Ciao. Yeah. So when guys part get hardened elected, there is a part becomes comfortable.